I'm Kev.
And I'm Steve.
And we're from the internet.
Want an extra episode of We're From The Internet every week? Head over to we'refromtheinternet.com/bonus to get an exclusive weekly bonus episode 100% free.
When did you decide you wanted to write? Has it been something you've always wanted to do?
I used to write books when I was like 6, 7.
Yeah, you were J.K. Rowling, weren't you?
I was. I remember writing a book called something like Big City Crime, and it was like a crime thriller. I must have been about 8. I drew all pictures for it. I invented a sidekick for Tails called Heads, and wrote a book called Heads or Tails.
Tails out of Sonic.
Yeah, sorry.
What kind of creature was Heads?
A bird with 3 heads.
Nice.
Which Pokemon then stole a few years later, so I think they owe me some royalties there because it looks strangely like my one. But yeah, it was a whole series about how Sonic went missing and Tails had to rescue him, and Heads was his sidekick bird friend that helped him out.
I wrote a short story about living inside a ping pong ball when I was 8 or 9 because my dad told me to. I was bored and he said, write about living inside a ping pong ball. Just basically his way of saying, get lost, go away, go and do something. I sat and wrote it, and it was brilliant. And it was basically a tiny little spaceship, and there was this big crew of people who all lived in the ping pong ball. And I wrote that for weeks over the course of the summer holidays. I was writing about life inside the ping pong ball. I might try and dig that out. I imagine it's absolute trash.
I remember
quite interesting.
When you did your, you must have been 15, 16, doing your GCSE English story that you had to write. I remember we had something like, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 months to write a story for our coursework. It was ages, whatever it was.
See, I never had coursework. I never had English coursework. I did English properly. My GCSE counts for something. It didn't have coursework in it.
No, I had to write it might be English literature, I don't know, probably, because it was a book. But I had to write a story that was, I don't know, let's say 5,000 words, 2,000, whatever it was. And I remember spending all the months that we had in class writing this story. Let the guy next to me read it, and he was like, it's awful. Let the teacher read it, was like, I think you need to start again. So I went from this absolute piece of trash that was probably not even worth an E. I went home and did a story overnight and handed it in and got a B+. And I was so pleased with myself. I wrote basically about, I'm thinking it was like Taken, but set on a plane. So someone's kid was kidnapped.
I don't know what Taken is.
Oh, it's Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson's daughter is kidnapped, and he basically tracks her down and finds her and beats up all the people that took her and kill them. And
why don't you just phone the police?
Because he's an ex-spy.
Right. Surely he'd have connections in the police then. He just bring up his mates.
He says something tough like, whoever you are, I will find you and I will hurt you, or something like that. And then does it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bought a How to Write a Novel book when I was about 15 or 16 from Waterstones in town. Is it Waterstones or Waterstones?
Waterstones.
See, I think it's Waterstones.
Waterstones.
Waterstones. I went in a Waterstones.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Waterstones.
Yeah, my children corrected me at the weekend when I said, should we go to Waterstones? You mean Waterstones? No, I don't. I mean Waterstones.
I'm an author, damn it.
Yeah, I talk proper. And, when you've published 20 books, you come back and we'll have a chat about how to pronounce the name of a bookshop, child. Mm-hmm. And that ended that. So, forever, in answer to the question, I always wanted to write.
I've tried to write loads of times before we ended up cracking it and doing a couple of books together. I'm finding now my big problem is I have so many ideas that I keep planning and writing in my ideas book.
I made you buy an ideas book the other day.
Yeah, they're in my ideas book.
But then you put them in there, and then you close the ideas book, and you go back to the one you're working on. The whole purpose of the ideas book is to vomit the ideas out of your brain, so they're not in your brain anymore.
Yeah, but then more come in.
Yeah, that's fine. And you add them to your ideas book, but then you set aside a certain amount of time every day to get on with the current project, because it never gets finished.
Well, my plan is to copy you and get up at 5 in the morning, but it just keeps not happening because I wake up and throw my phone at the wall and fall back to sleep.
See what you should do there is just wake up and get up.
I should put my phone, I might actually do this tonight, I'm going to put my phone at the end of the bed so I have to get up and walk to it. And then I'll think, I'm already up, I might as well.
Your good lady will love that. And I'm like, I'm going up at 5 and you can't be asked to go and get it at the end of the bed.
Well, she woke me up this morning to tell me my alarm was going off, and I was just like, well, is it?
But because my brain doesn't work properly, when I know I'm getting up at 5, I wake up naturally at 4:30. And I pick up my phone and think, oh yeah, 4:30. I lie there for half an hour, forcing myself to stay in bed. Well, I could just do another half hour of writing. But I find that's a really good... I just sort of sit there and plan what I'm going to do. And then I go downstairs and I just get on with it. I sat there, knocked out 2,500 words this morning before 6:30, that was.
So I left the house this morning at 7 and I thought I could have had 3 coffees by now. And
I had already had 3 coffees by then.
And so I was just like walking along thinking that 1 coffee has made me feel quite awake, but 3 coffees I'd have been running at the bloody bus stop.
I had several coffees and a vitamin B supplement that I've started taking when I get up at 5 because I really need it. It's first day of term, which is today. I can always do it for the first day, first week, it'll be fine. By the end of next week, once I've been back at school a couple of weeks, it will start to become hard because I'll be getting tired and all the 5 or 6 hours of sleep nights will start to sort of catch up with me because I don't go to bed any earlier. I'll be up till midnight tonight just because we're doing this and then I'll probably watch Game of Thrones afterwards.
So I watched it before we left. It was on Now TV.
It was on Now TV before it was on Sky Atlantic. Yep. That's unacceptable.
Wow.
No, there's no well.
Wow.
Those of us who pay £70 a month to have Sky, after you schmucks who pay threepence halfpenny for Now TV,
yep,
I feel discriminated against.
You are.
At what time did it go on Now TV?
I don't know. It was just there.
Well, you could have given me your Now TV subscription and I could have watched it. You could have invited us round. We'd have watched it with you.
Could have all watched it together, couldn't we?
Yeah, that would have been grand. We could have commented on it.
The rest of the world
tweeting.
all saw it, 3 a.m? It was simultaneously broadcast
you have
around
to be
the
a
world.
bit of a loser to do that. I remember when they had...
I think that was Lost.
Yeah, they had... Was it the whole of the last season
No,
or just the last
finale.
episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I just recorded it and watched it when I had my breakfast.
I could have died in my sleep. You know how I felt about the end of Lost. I just didn't want to die before it ended.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really bother me that much. If I was dead, I wouldn't care.
I would have.
You wouldn't. You'd be dead. You wouldn't have cared. Talking of Game of Thrones, I finally finished reading the first book. For a year, I'd been stuck on 36% on my Kindle. And last week, got to the point where I'd finished watching all 3 seasons of House of Cards back to back over the Easter weekend. 39 episodes of that in 4 days. I'm quite proud of myself.
Nice.
And I had nothing to do on my Kindle then, so I just opened Game of Thrones back up and just ploughed through it. And I think once I worked out who the characters were, it became less arduous. And I went and bought the second one, so I've now started, A Clash of Kings? Is that the second one?
Yeah, I think it got better from there. Speaking, pulling it a little bit back to writing, since being a writer, and I don't want to sound a bit stupid when I'm saying this, but I read, I don't know if it's because it's an unedited chapter or what, but the writer of Game of Thrones released a chapter of his new book and the other day on his website, and I was reading through it thinking, it doesn't look like a professional writer wrote it. I'm reading through it thinking...
The whole book's a bit like that, though.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell whether it's because I haven't read his style in a while, whether maybe it's just an unedited chapter, or whether it's just that now I've read a lot about writing that I'm suddenly noticing things that they should.
I reckon any of the 3 editors I've dealt with now, every single one of them would send Game of Thrones back covered in notes.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I noticed he did was, there's a paragraph, and it's changing perspectives. Not changing perspectives, sorry. Different people are talking in the same block of text. Yeah. And obviously that's something you beat out of me quite early on when we were writing our books, that it goes onto a new line.
It's an absolute no-no. The man's a monster.
Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. And that was happening left, right and centre in his book. Is it happening in the Kindle version?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's just his style.
I'm going to sue him because he owes me a TV show.
Stephen King wrote a book called On Writing, and then if you read his foreword in Dark Tower, he says that all of the stuff you read about writing is nonsense. Just write the way you write and people will buy it.
Stephen King. Want to get your question answered on a future episode of We're From The Internet? Head over to we'refromtheinternet.com/question, tweet your questions at KevinSteve, email kevinsteve@gmail.com, or post them at facebook.com/KevinSteve, or even leave them in the comments for this episode.